At 03:17 every month, a train stops at a station that does not exist. No city map shows it. No transit plan names it. And no passenger who enters it is ever recorded. The first report came from a night electrician in 1972. He was repairing a signal fault beneath Blackthorn Central Station. While working alone, he heard an arrival chime below the tracks. Then, a woman's voice announced a platform number that should not exist. Platform 0. There had never been a Platform 0 on any public blueprint. The electrician followed the sound through a locked service corridor. At the end, he found a steel door hidden behind a cable wall. The door had no outside handle. It bore a faded transit emblem and a small mark reading 017. He heard a train idling beyond the steel door. By morning, he had filed a maintenance report. The report disappeared before noon. 3 days later, the electrician resigned without explanation. He never worked on a railway again. 11 years later, investigators found his notebook in sealed evidence storage. On the final page, he had written a single warning: "Do not wait for the last train." That note reopened a forgotten municipal mystery. Archived staff complaints described the same hidden announcements. Cleaners reported warm air rising from dead ventilation shafts after midnight. Security guards described brief power drops at 03:17. One dispatcher saw a phantom train bypass every control signal. Another saw an empty platform fill with shadows on a broken monitor. Every report ended the same way. The file was marked inactive and moved to restricted storage. Investigators began with the original station blueprints. Blackthorn Central had been rebuilt 6 times in 50 years, yet the bedrock survey revealed a hollow chamber below the oldest line. The chamber was never explained in any engineering record. It was too large to be a drainage vault, too symmetrical to be natural, and too deep for any standard platform. Ground scans showed stairs descending into the chamber, but those stairs ended in blank stone on every official map. Someone had drawn the route and erased the destination. To verify the anomaly, an inspection team entered the corridor at 02:41 a.m. They carried cameras, portable lights, and a reel-to-reel recorder. The steel door still stood behind the cable wall. This time, it was unlocked. Beyond it was a concrete stairwell spiraling into cold air. The deeper they went, the cleaner the walls became. Dust vanished. Rust vanished. And old maintenance markings gave way to polished black tile. At the bottom, they reached a platform lit by dim amber lamps. The station was enormous. It stretched farther than their flashlights could reach. A dark track ran through the center like a wound in the earth. On the far wall hung a complete city rail map. One line was marked in red. It did not match any known route. Its name was the Hollow Line. The final stop was Platform 0. Every clock in the station was frozen at 03:17, yet the lights were still humming. The benches stood in perfect rows without dust. Ticket machines glowed with standby power. The glass boards showed no destinations, only the words "next arrival." Under every display was the same symbol: U17. Investigators searched the ticket office first. Inside were paper tickets bundled with twine. Every ticket was stamped with a date from the future. The destination field was always blank. The price field always read paid. And the passenger count box always read 1. In a back cabinet, they found station logbooks wrapped in plastic. The oldest entry was dated 1949. That was decades before Blackthorn Central officially opened. Early entries recorded cargo arrivals with no listed contents. Later entries recorded passenger transfers with no listed names. Then the records became stranger. One line read arrival from Vale. Another read relocation approved by 017. A third simply said memory retained in transit. Investigators photographed every page. Before they could leave, the platform speakers clicked on. A calm female voice filled the station. A final inbound service approaching Platform 0. Please remain behind the yellow line. There was no operator in the booth. No active control signal on their equipment. And no vibration on the rails. Then wind rushed through the tunnel. A pale light appeared in the darkness. A train emerged without sound. It glided to a stop in front of them. The exterior looked older than the city above. Black enamel reflected the amber lights like wet stone. None of the carriage windows were clear. Each one was clouded from the inside. The doors opened by themselves. Warm air rolled onto the platform. Every seat inside the train was empty. But the floor was damp with fresh footprints. One investigator saw words carved into a window. "We are still arriving." The team tried to radio the surface. No signal left the station. A second announcement began immediately. Transfer available for all unlisted locations. Doors closing in 10 seconds. One camera operator stepped backward across the train threshold. The doors shut before anyone could pull him back. The carriage lights turned blue. The train pulled away without sound. It vanished into darkness in less than 3 seconds. Search crews reached the stairwell at dawn. They reported no station below. Only a sealed shaft of black stone. On the recovered tape, the missing operator whispered one final message. "This train moves places, not people." Today, Platform 0 remains active under 017 observation, and somewhere below Blackthorn, the last train is still waiting.
At 3:17 a.m., an abandoned radio began naming people listening to it. The first name belonged to a fisherman who had vanished 20 years earlier. The second belonged to the technician recording the broadcast that very night. Then the voice calmly announced a place called Morrow, Vale. No atlas, census, or satellite record contained any town by that name. Yet the broadcast gave coordinates accurate to within 3 meters. They pointed toward an empty section of the northern Norwegian Sea. 6 months later, our survey aircraft found streetlights beneath the fog. The radio spoke again before anyone aboard touched the receiver. 3 will enter tomorrow, Vale, it said. 2 will return. The recording you are about to hear was recovered from the third person, according to every official record. That third person never existed. The story began in November 1987 inside a coastal monitoring station. Its operator, Elias Venn, tracked weather traffic for passing cargo ships. Shortly after midnight, every channel fell silent at exactly the same moment. Venn described the silence as pressure, not the absence of sound. At 3:17, a woman's voice emerged beneath a low mechanical pulse. She read tomorrow's weather for streets Venn had never heard of. Lantern Avenue would flood. North Pier would close before sunrise. Children were advised to remain indoors until the bells stopped ringing. The transmission ended with a phrase repeated exactly 17 times. Morrow, Vale remembers everyone who has forgotten Morrow, Vale. Venn copied the recording, and reported it to his regional supervisor. By noon, 2 unidentified officials had removed every tape except one. Venn concealed the surviving cassette inside the station's emergency beacon. He marked it with a circle crossed by a diagonal line. Beneath the symbol, he added the number 17 in red ink. 3 days later, Elias Venn disappeared during a routine walk home. Police found his keys, his wallet, and a still-burning cigarette. There were no footprints leading away from where the cigarette lay. The monitoring station closed the following spring and was gradually forgotten. 36 years passed before contractors dismantled its emergency beacon. Inside, they discovered a cassette untouched by moisture or corrosion. The label carried Venn's handwriting, Morrow, Vale, and the same coordinates. It reached our archive through a source who requested permanent anonymity. That was when the signal analyst noticed something Venn could not. Beneath the woman's voice was a second recording played almost backward. It was not language, music, or any known form of interference. The pulse contained tide tables stretching more than a century ahead. Every calculation assumed an island where open water currently existed. When converted into elevation data, the pulse produced a street map. 42 buildings surrounded a harbor, shaped like a human eye. At its center stood a radio tower labeled Station 17. The analyst compared the layout with declassified naval surveys from 1954. One survey contained a blacked-out rectangle matching the island perfectly. Its margin carried a faded approval stamp. Project 017. We requested satellite coverage for the coordinates during the next clear window. Every satellite scheduled to pass overhead malfunctioned within 11 minutes. A direct survey was authorized under strict radio silence conditions. The field agent would document the site and collect physical evidence. The signal analysts insisted on joining to monitor changes in the transmission. Their pilot was Captain Lena Orlov, an experienced Arctic rescue specialist. Orlov appears clearly in the mission video and equipment manifests. Remember that detail because the archive no longer contains her name. The aircraft departed Tromsø shortly before dawn on February 17th. Weather reports promised clear skies and visibility beyond 80 kilometers. 40 minutes later, a perfectly circular fog bank appeared ahead. The compass rotated once, stopped north, then pointed straight down. Below them, waves ended against a coastline absent from every screen. Morrow Vale had appeared exactly where the radio said it would. The island measured less than 4 kilometers from shore to shore. Yet, its streets continued beyond the coastline beneath the surrounding water. Orlov landed on an asphalt road marked with airport guidance symbols. There was no runway, terminal, hangar, or evidence of aircraft. Streetlights remained illuminated, despite the pale morning sun. Rain covered the pavement, but no rain had fallen during their approach. Every parked vehicle faced toward the harbor, with its doors unlocked. Their engines were warm, although dust sealed each hood and windshield. The first building was a cafe, prepared for customers who never arrived. Coffee still steamed in 11 cups, arranged around the silent room. On the wall, every clock displayed precisely 3:17. The second hand of each clock moved only when nobody watched. The team entered homes expecting abandonment, decay, or human remains. Instead, every room appeared occupied only moments before their arrival. Baths were warm, televisions glowed, kettles trembled on cold stoves. Family photographs showed houses, streets, and landscapes, but never people. Mirrors had been covered with newspaper, dated the following morning. One headline reported the arrival of 3 unnamed investigators. The photograph showed their aircraft already burning beside the harbor. Outside, the aircraft remained, intact and visible between the buildings. The signal analyst detected the broadcast coming from every powered object. Even disconnected telephones whispered weather reports through their receivers. Then the town's public speakers clicked on, one after another. The woman's voice welcomed each team member by full name. She described the field agent standing beneath a broken blue awning. She described Orlov raising her camera toward the western clock tower. She described the analyst removing his headphones before he moved. Each announcement preceded the action by exactly 5 seconds. They tested the pattern by refusing to follow the next prediction. The voice said Orlov would look through a bakery window. Orlov closed her eyes and faced in the opposite direction. 5 seconds later, every window reflected her looking inside. The reflection smiled while the real Orlov began to scream. The field agent ordered everyone back toward the aircraft immediately. A street that had been straight now curved toward the radio tower. Every route they chose returned them to the same red door. The red door belonged to Station 17, the map's central building. Its lock opened when the analyst replayed Ven's original cassette. Inside, dust covered everything except 3 pairs of fresh footprints. The tracks matched their boots and led deeper into the station. Along the corridor hung portraits of the town's radio operators. Every portrait showed the same woman at a different apparent age. The earliest photograph was dated 1903, before radio broadcasting existed. The newest carried tomorrow's date and showed an empty chair. The broadcast room contained a microphone, tape machines, and no transmitter. Cables disappeared through the floor into a sealed lower level. On the console, a red button blinked in 5-second intervals. Above it, someone had scratched, "Do not let it finish." A reel began turning, although the machine had no electrical connection. Through the speaker, they heard their own voices from moments ahead. The agent's voice ordered the analyst not to open the floor hatch. The analyst's voice answered, "We already did." The hatch released before either man touched its locking wheel. A staircase descended farther than the island's geology could contain. Orlov remained upstairs to maintain contact with the aircraft. Her final visible gesture was a raised hand signaling 5 minutes. The agent and analyst descended through 11 identical concrete landings. Every landing carried a map of a different non-existent settlement. Some were islands, others were tunnels, cities, or stations under ice. Each location bore the same symbol, Project 017. At the lowest land, they found an archive larger than the town. Metal shelves stretched beyond their lights in every direction. Boxes were catalogued by latitude, longitude, and date of disappearance. One drawer contained maps printed on materials neither could identify. Another held photographs taken from impossible positions above the Earth. The analyst discovered a cabinet labeled with their mission number. Inside were 3 personnel files prepared decades before their births. The first described the field agent as returned with partial memory. The second described the analyst as returned carrying active signal. Orlov's file contained only a photograph of the empty broadcast chair. Behind the photograph was a handwritten instruction addressed to me. It said, "Archivist, this is where your collection begins." Upstairs, Orlov called down to ask why they had returned without her. The men were still beneath the station when her message arrived. Then another Orlov answered from somewhere deeper in the archive. Both voices repeated the same sentence, separated by 5 seconds. "Do not look at me when the lights turn red." The agent closed his eyes. The analyst watched the spectrum display. A 4th heartbeat appeared between their 2 signals on the monitor. Footsteps approached, perfectly matching their own breathing rhythm. When the lights returned to white, Orlov's radio lay on the floor. Its casing was decades older, corroded, and engraved with Ven's initials. The speaker whispered, "2 will return, but only one will remember. Somewhere above them, the aircraft engine started on its own. They ran upstairs as every tape machine began playing simultaneously. Thousands of voices described disasters that had not happened yet. Some transmissions came from dates more than 6 centuries away. Others repeated final messages from places erased from recorded history. At the broadcast room, Orlov was gone, and her equipment remained. The tower voice announced the aircraft would burn in 60 seconds. The men crossed streets, now filling with silent human silhouettes. Every figure faced away, holding a radio against one ear. In shop windows, their reflections ran 5 seconds ahead of them. One reflection reached the aircraft and opened its door first. The agent fired an emergency flare through the reflected windshield. Every streetlight shattered, and the silhouettes turned toward the tower. They reached the aircraft with 17 seconds remaining on the countdown. No pilot sat inside, but the controls responded to the analyst's voice. The aircraft accelerated, while buildings folded inward behind its wings. At 0, the island vanished without fire, impact, or displaced water. Navigation returned instantly, placing them 70 kilometers off course. Rescue controllers asked why 2 unauthorized men were flying a stolen aircraft. They had no record of Captain Lena Orlov or the survey mission. The aircraft registry showed it had been decommissioned 9 years earlier. Fuel tanks were empty when the aircraft landed safely at Tromsø. The field agent remembered entering the town with only the analyst. He insisted no pilot had accompanied them at any point. The analyst remembered Orlov, but could no longer describe her face. Their cameras contained 11 minutes of corrupted footage and one clear frame. It showed 3 figures standing outside Station 17's red door. The third figure had no face, shadow, or reflection in nearby glass. In its hand was the cassette hidden by Elias Venn in 1987. The cassette now contains 15 minutes absent from Venn's original recording. Those minutes document the team's arrival before the mission was authorized. The final voice on the tape is neither Venn's nor Orlov's. It belongs to me, although I have never visited Morrow Vale. My recorded voice lists 17 locations missing from every modern map. The first was Morrow Vale. 16 files remain unopened. If your radio speaks at 3:17, do not answer its questions. It is not searching for a place. It is searching for you.